Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the very best cards that came around or are coming around in Rebel Clash to use in pre-releases. Now, I know that pre-releases aren't happening like usual. I know that game stores are closed. But I also know that a bunch of people are having their own pre-release tournaments with the people in their house over Skype, etc. So I still wanted to do this. I was planning on running my own online pre-release. It's not going to happen now. Unfortunately, boring technical issues. But there is a very good chance we can do one for other sets moving forward. Now, things about pre-releases, right? You're going to play the Pokemon V that you draw. I don't need to tell you to play Dragapult V Max if you get Dragapult V and Dragapult V Max. You're going to play those cards. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you under the radar cards you might not be thinking about, which are uniquely good in pre-releases. And I want to start off with 3 Stage 2s that are Stage 2s, but if you end up with the whole line, they are worth investing in even though they're Stage 2s. Now, first of all, we could look at Butterfree. Butterfree cheats, because both Caterpie and Metapod have the ability Adaptive Evolution that let you evolve whenever you feel like it. You can evolve up right away. Now, Butterfree, 1 Grass Energy, 30 damage is not good, but plus Burn, plus Confusion, plus Poison. Bearing in mind, special conditions are better in pre-releases, because people cannot just play whatever switching cards they like. They're at the mercy of the cards they've drawn. So in a format where it's better to have special conditions, where they generally work more reliably, and you can evolve it up as soon as you like, as often as you like, I think that makes this worth having a little bit of a gander at. Similarly, we could have a little bit of a look at Ludicolo. Now, Lombre does have that ability whereby if you draw it as your card for the turn, you can play it straight down on the bench, unlikely to fire, but 2 colorless energy, so you can play it in whatever deck you like. Ludicolo does 60 damage for each prize card you've taken. And doing 120 or 180 in a pre-release format for just 2 energy is great. Yes, it's very difficult to actually pull off, I get it entirely, but if you can get Ludicolo going, especially with Lombre's evolution cheating, you could be onto a winner. And then Dragapult, if you can actually get Dragapult, and you can actually get it working, Dragapult is an absolute beast in this pre-release format. It's got immunity on a coin flip, but the fact of the matter is most people aren't going to have much gusting. Yes, Boss's Orders is in the set, maybe people will have it, but they ain't going to have loads, which means they're going to actually legitimately be going on a coin flip, and that's kind of hilarious. I don't know if you're going to be able to get the full Dragapult line, but if you can, oh my god, it's beastly. Now, there are 2 other cards I like a lot if, and it's a big if, you can get the associated tool. So there is a Palisand coming in the set, and Palisand for 2 colorless energy discards the top card of your opponent's deck. It's fine, it's not amazing. But if the Pokemon has Cursed Shovel attached to it, you discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and that makes a whole heap of a difference, ladies and gentlemen. That makes a huge difference. Cursed Shovel, incidentally, if it's attached to a Pokemon that gets knocked out by an opponent's attack, you discard the top 2 cards from your opponent's deck. When you're playing 40 card decks, discarding 3 cards is a little bit nuts good, so I love it, but only if you've got Cursed Shovel. Similarly, I love Arcanine, but I only love Arcanine if you get Burning Scarf. If you've got Burning Scarf, Arcanine has 230 HP as a single prize stage 1, it's a bit ridiculous. The free energy 130 is fine if a bit slow, but with 230 HP, you'll have time. And then, of course, Burning Scarf says that if you get damaged by an attack, you get to burn your opponent. I think it's fair to say that actually Arcanine is one you should definitely be looking out for, with the caveat here that it's only really going to work if you get yourself Burning Scarf as well. Without Burning Scarf, I'm not really a fan of this at all. Now, there are also a couple Pokemon that I really like for draw in this format. Snorlax for 1 colourless energy draws you 2 cards. Free energy 120, you go to sleep is fine. Yeah, do with that what you will. But I really like being able to draw 2 cards. That's kind of awesome. And then we've got Hawlucha that for 1 colourless energy lets you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw a new hand of 5 cards. It's a really nice card that can be used for, well, getting set up, frankly. Do this for a couple of turns and you might have to give up a prize, but if you're playing a stage 2, using Hawlucha several times is going to be what actually gets you the cards out that you need, so worth playing with. And then, in no particular order, a bunch of non-stage 2s that don't need tools and don't need draw. How about Masquerain? Now, Masquerain might be one of my favourite cards in the set for pre-releases. 2 energy, 40 damage, switch to the bench doesn't impress me. But 1 energy, 30 damage, and energy cannot be attached to the defending Pokemon from your opponent's hand during their next turn. Well, there aren't that many good ways to accelerate energy in the set. Yeah, sure, your opponent can attach to their bench Pokemon, but whatever they've got active isn't getting any energy, and Masquerain can take a very slow, but basically guaranteed prize. Your opponent cannot attach energy to retreat, and they cannot attach energy to attack. And they're not likely to have many good switching options, so if you can catch something in the active with no energy with a Masquerain, cross your fingers for boss's orders, you know, your opponent can have a 0 energy Pokemon V and you might be 6 or 7 hit KOing, but if they can't switch out the active or attach energy to it, you will have the turns you need. Now, the other one I absolutely adore in a pre-release format is Eiscue. I think Eiscue's amazing. You see, Eiscue's got the ability Ice Face. As long as this Pokemon is undamaged, reduce all damage done by attacks by 60. The thing is, at least in the early turns of a pre-release, your opponent probably isn't doing 60 damage. So if you can get an Eiscue in the active, your opponent is just not going to be able to do much damage. Sure, they can attach lots of energy and build up a bigger Pokemon, but until they do that, you've basically got an invincible Pokemon in the active that you can use to buy yourself some time. Now, the free energy 70 damage plus 10 to each of your opponent's bench is not amazing. I'm not loving that attack. But the fact that you can be invincible for several turns is pretty awesome. Go Eiscue. Is worth noting that something like Burn or Poison would drop damage here, and then it would turn off the ability, and that would be very, very sad. Barraskewda is one that takes a little bit of effort, but could be absolutely broken in a pre-release. For 1 water energy, you do 130 damage, but only if you discard 2 water energy from your hand. So play a whole bunch of water energy, and you'll be fine. Plus, we are getting an item card coming in the set that lets you just search for 2 water energy. That seems like it would be pretty good with Barraskewda. I don't know if it's necessarily going to work in a constructed tournament, but in a pre-release, yeah, I think this could be awesome. Now, I'm also a pretty big fan, believe it or not, of Shinx. Again, I'm not trying to go for the obvious Pokemon that everyone knows are definitely going to be good if you pull them. I'm trying to look for some hidden gems that are uniquely good in pre-releases. And Shinx for 1 lightning energy does 10 damage, but if your opponent's got 3 or fewer prize cards remaining, this attack does 60 damage. Well, you're only playing 4 prizes. So essentially, as soon as your opponent takes a single prize, Shinx is hitting 60 damage for 1 energy. That's good, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty good. And sticking with our Lightning Basics theme, how about more Pico? 1 colourless energy, 20 damage, and then you choose one of your opponent's attacks, and they cannot use it during their next turn. Remember, switching options are way worse in a pre-release, and if your opponent's only got one good attack or one attack they've got enough energy to use, more Pico can turn it off, and that's kind of hilarious. Plus, add a second energy 50 to the active, 20 to one on the bench. I don't love it, but if you've got the Pokemon out anyway. Now, it's not a basic, but there is another lightning Pokemon I really like, and it is Toxtricity. 1 lightning energy, 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon, and your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned? Yeah, that's going to get an awful lot of damage on the field awfully quickly, so I think this is something we need to probably take a little bit more seriously. In a pre-release, I think this Toxtricity could really set you up for success. Plus 130 HP, nothing to be sniffed at. How about Sigilyph? Sigilyph is another one of these which I think could work beautifully in the unique context of a pre-release. The ability Counterattack says that if it is active and damaged by an attack, you put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. And then for 2 energy, 30 damage plus 10 for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. This could add up pretty quickly, or it could make your opponent not want to attack. That's fine by me. Now, one that is a bit weird but could be awesome under some circumstances is Alchemy. 1 colourless energy decoration, attach as many basic energy cards as you like from your hand to your Pokemon in any way that you like. Now, in a pre-release, we often have to play higher energy counts because our decks are less consistent than they would usually be, especially if you're mixing energy types. Alchemy gives you 1 turn where you can attach as many as you like. You're still essentially giving your opponent a free hit to accelerate energy, but there's got to be some really fun decks that can be made with Alchemy. Now, Duraludon is one I'm kind of a fan of. Duraludon, very simply, just 1 metal energy, 30 damage, and attach a metal energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. It just accelerates a bit of energy. And it doesn't have to be to a metal Pokemon, so you can be playing colourless Pokemon and getting this work as well. It's a basic Pokemon that does damage while accelerating energy. In a pre-release, that's kind of good. And my final one that I really like here is Galarian Weezing. You see, Galarian Weezing, first of all, has an ability that turns off your opponent's abilities, so if they are trying to muck about with something like Eiscue or Dragapult, you can hurt them. But secondly, for a single energy on a stage 1, you poison your opponent's active and they take 4 damage counters between turns. Again, lack of switching makes special conditions much better, and you're on to an absolute winner here. There's no guarantee you're going to draw all of these cards, and you're going to get all of these cards, you're going to be able to use all of these cards, but the fact of the matter is, all of these cards are very well positioned in a pre-release. They could work beautifully in this format. I'm not arguing you can play these in regional championships and break the format, but I am arguing that you can play these in a pre-release and break the format. But if you've got any you think I've forgotten, if there's any that you think are pretty gosh darn good, if there's any that you would like to mention, let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, or you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WasiPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.